Hello everybody. In this video, we're going to be using an online JSON API from this periodic table to fetch that data, process it, and display it into a Pandas data frame. So I'm just on ptable.com. This should work for most websites that hold a periodic table, as most of the information will be stored in the same place. But for this example, we're just going to use inspect DevTools, come over here to network, and then we're going to want to refresh the page to pull in all of this information that we see right here in this periodic table. And then you'll want to identify the row that stores all of this information. Since I've been here before, I know it is properties dash 951. So I'll click on that. And just to make sure that's what I'm looking for, I'll go to the preview tab and I'll click this drop down menu. And as you can see, we get a list of a bunch of different elements, their atomic number, their symbol, weight, and etc. And if you click down on the drop down menu again, you'll get some nested information, such as the series right here, which identifies what type of metal it is. And that's what this little table is doing right here in the, I guess, center of the website. So we're going to be pulling in some information that we find interesting. So in my opinion, just high level stuff. We're going to be pulling in the atomic number, the symbol, and the atomic weight. And then also most likely the year the element was discovered and its abundance. Its abundance just measures um, how abundant this element is within the universe, solar system, a meteor, the crust of the earth, I assume, the oceans, and within the human body. So since I know this is what we're going to be pulling in, I can go to the headers and access this request URL. I'll just go ahead and copy it, and I can actually open it in another tab just to give you an idea of what this JSON file looks like. So this is pretty hard to read, but after we get done writing a few lines of code, it will turn into a table and be a lot easier to read for us. So in this tutorial, I'm going to be using Jupyter. And to start off, we're going to import some of the libraries that we will need, which is Pandas. And then we'll also import the request library. And then JSON, since we're dealing with a JSON file. And I'll add this here in at the end, because as you'll see later on, one of our columns is going to exceed a good amount of characters. So instead of it cutting off halfway through, I wanted to display all characters. So I'll do display dot max underscore call width, comma, and then we'll go, let's do 150 characters just to be safe. And then we'll run that. Perfect. Let's create some additional cells. We'll want to assign our URL a variable. We'll just call that URL. Run that. And now we actually want to import this URL into our Jupyter lab. And then to do that, we'll first give it an alias. I'll call it data. We'll do requests dot get URL dot JSON, open close parentheses. And what we're essentially doing here is just using our request package to bring in this URL. And since it's a JSON, we want to put this JSON here at the end of it, open close parentheses. And now let's assign our data variable an element variable. Data, run that. Perfect. And now to go ahead and write up the rest of the code, we'll just begin by creating a list, and then we'll title this list rows equals open close bracket, and then we'll also put in a for loop for element in element semicolon. So as I mentioned, this for loop is essentially going to make sure that for every column we run or every data point we bring in, that it just doesn't stop at that one, that it runs all, um, that it essentially runs the entire list. And that'll make a little bit more sense as I write out these next few lines of code. And we'll do rows.append. And what this does is essentially just make sure everything gets brought in correctly and formatted properly. Okay. And now we can actually go in to begin pulling in some of these columns or some of these data points within this periodic table. So we'll want to pull in, let's see here. We'll want to pull in obviously the atomic number, which is just titled atomic. We'll also want to pull in symbol. We also want to pull in the atomic weight, which is titled weight. Um, so let's write out these three so far, and then if we find anything else that's interesting, we'll bring that in as well. So we'll start off by giving this a title, atomic number. Open, close bracket, single quotes with inside of it. Atomic, since the element itself is just referenced as atomic right here, we'll just pull it in as atomic, and then we'll finish up with an argument if atomic in element, pull that in, but if it's not, we'll do else, single quotes. So just essentially leave it blank. If you want, you can also put an NA as in for not available, but I just leave it blank for this tutorial. So next is symbol, and we can just title symbol symbol. Nothing much to it. And same argument, element if symbol else, leave it blank. And I've went ahead and written out some of the rest of these um, elements, so I'll just go ahead and paste them in right here. Spec. And essentially, the rest of these follow the same logic. If well, first we title it, but if said element is found, then we just leave it as is. But if it's not found, then we're going to leave it blank. So we also brought in atomic weight, its melting point, which is in Kelvin, the year the element was discovered as discovery year, and abundance. So we look to be finished with this, so we can end our argument. We'll run that, and now we just have to display this. So I'll give this an alias of dataframe, pd.dataframe. Dataframe is a pandas package as well, or essentially a tool within the package. And since this list is titled rows, we'll do rows. Now let's display this data frame head, and we'll do the first 11 rows since the first row is 0 and it won't display. So here we are. We have all of our data points or columns that we brought in: atomic number, symbol, atomic weight, melting point in Kelvin, discovery year, and abundance. So this is why I wrote that line of code up here. This pd.set options display max column width. If it wasn't for that, this would cut off pretty early on, and we wouldn't be able to see the full list of abundance for an element. So yeah, that's how you um, get data from a periodic table API, extract it for information as we did here. We also stored it, and then we displayed it as well. So thank you for watching.